Very good, very good. Holyfield, I mean, he poses challenges, with his girth and his strength. He runs the floor a lot better than you may think he would. I know he made strides last season, when they had some injuries. So, we've been watching him on film. He's a great screener. Um, he contests shots. He did a great job of rebounding the other night. I think he had 12 rebounds. So, he's going to be a challenge, just to make sure we always keep a body on him.
How much more difficult is he going to be down low than some of the guys on Bryan or North Dakota State who are 6'8", 6'9"?
That's relative because those guys in Bryan, North Dakota State, they were competitors as well. Each individual poses their own challenge. I think he presents a little bit different challenge for us, being that this team is probably a tad bit faster paced overall, and the perimeter is going to be surrounded with shooters. They're going to have shooters, at all four spots, no matter who's in the game, opposite him. So just with us being probably a tad bit more spread out, him having more space to operate, he could pose a little bit more threat. Maybe a little bit more one-on-one blockouts for him.
So what impresses you about their guards? I guess the Gaston kid and Gavin, a couple guys against scorers. What impresses you about those guys?
Yeah. Gatson really pops out on the film, when you watch him. I mean, you can tell a floor general when you see one, and, he makes that team go. I know he has a ton of experience for them being, I think he's their lone senior on the team. But, overall, from top to bottom, I think this is kind of cliche, but they have a team, maybe 5, 6 guys that I would consider to be shooters. A lot of times on film when you're preparing for a scout, you can identify 1 or 2 guys you kind of key in and say, okay, we want to make sure we run this guy off the three-point line. But they have a team full of guys that are capable of knocking down shots. I mean, even a guy who's playing the power forward position for them right now, I don't want to mess his name up, and Markel McKinney, he's leading them in three-point field goal attempts. Obviously McKay is someone who really shoots the basketball well for them. But, in Gatson, he had 4 3-pointers against Arkansas. So, it's just going to be a matter of identifying, not only one specific person, but just identifying, not overcommitting our help and staying home and being honest with the shooters.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about the recruiting impact that you've had since you've joined the staff and what you tried to emphasize since you've been here?
Honestly, it's been more of taking the lead from Coach Crean, identifying the things that have not only made Indiana, one of the top programs in the country historically, but also identifying the things that he's done since he's been here in this program, really kind of diving into what his philosophy is, understanding, what makes Indiana at its current stage good, just finding the right type of individuals that fit into that philosophy, and just really taking the lead of not only him but Coach Buckley and Coach McClain and identifying and recognizing the hard work that Marnie Mooney has done and, the strength and conditioning work that Janae Jackson has done, and finding people who are going to fit that culture. So after taking time and really, having a little bit of a head start just because of the impact I had with Maurice Creek and Victor Oladipo and I, honestly being a fan of Coach Crean for many years, I've kind of understood what he was about. So it was kind of a smooth transition for me, identifying what a Coach Crean type player would be. So when you have that groundwork of, that background information, you're able to come in and really identify people that I think that he would like and that people that I knew would fit into his culture and his mentality and his mindset. So, recruiting has been enjoyable from that aspect. It makes it easy to recruit for and be a part of a staff that fits fits my own personal mindset as well.
I know with recruiting, relationships are always important. As a recruiter, how much emphasis do you put on that, getting to know these kids and their families?
I think relationships are important in any, all facets of life. It's, honestly, it starts with a conversation. If you're watching, there's hundreds upon hundreds of talented individuals in the world, but it goes back to, the certain characteristics that we talk about as a staff that we feel like that are valuable and important to us. And once you can recognize that in the individual, you go through the process of identifying whether they're, whether there's a true interest on their part. And it, like I said, it starts off with a conversation. So, a relationship to me can begin with a hello.
Your roots are obviously on the East Coast, and how much, do kind of kids out there, the kids I guess you talked to about Indiana kind of have an idea of what Indiana was all about, basically what was it like to sell, some of those kids on Indiana that maybe IU hasn't necessarily recruited out that way before?
It's, to answer your question, I would say that in general, it's a generational thing, obviously, in most situations. People obviously want to name Indiana, but they may not quite understand the history of Indiana. And, there's an interest with the program being as successful as it is now with the hard work of Coach Crean and the staff. There's been an increased visibility lately, but getting into identifying what the actual style of play is and what I consider the separating factors of the program, are, whether it be the player development of Coach Crean and his staff, or the strength conditioning, or once again the academic standards and qualities. Once you get an opportunity to present all that information, I think it increases the interest level. But people are familiar with Indiana, the history of Indiana, but they don't quite understand what the differences in programs as far as the level of fan support that we have here, the loyalty that you have.
Will and Dick were talking about how everyone knows the role on this team and how important roles are. When you're recruiting, are you recruiting the best player available, or are you recruiting people that are going to be able to take on roles for people that are leaving?
Honestly, I think the strength of the program is the fact that we have players that fill a multitude of roles. They're multidimensional players. They can fit into. We try not to limit individuals as far as, hey, you're going to come in, you're going to be a two guard. Hey, you're going to come in, you're going to be a small forward. I think when we identify a player, we identify players who can guard multiple positions, and that are going to be, interested in being coached and developed to play a multitude of roles. Yeah, an extreme amount of respect. It was always a goal of mine to be amongst, in a program that had great fan support and, was striving towards excellence. And once you really can't identify. You can imagine what it would be like before you get here, but until you're here and you really understand the passion of the fans, the passion of the families that are associated with the program, the history of the basketball here, you realize you're a part of something much bigger than yourself, and it inspires you to work as hard as you could possibly work to not only do the best job you can do personally, but to provide a product that people can be proud of now, people that were here before you can be proud of, and people that are going to be part of the next generation can also look back and be proud of.